Okay, Elon Musk's Twitter saga continues today after claiming Twitter's legal team accused him of violating a non-disclosure agreement when tweeting about the company's automated users review process. This is just the latest in a string of controversies surrounding Musk's potential buyout of the social media platform. Joining us now to discuss is Jefferies analyst Brent Thill. Brent, always good to see you. Really enjoyed your note out on this. You mentioned in that note, Brent, that Musk might be trying to negotiate a lower price for Twitter. So my question to you is, inside of this bear market in tech, what is fair value for Twitter?
Yeah, I think right now the whole tech market's in a massive sell-off. And when he struck this transaction, obviously we saw signs of weakness for the tape, but ultimately no one believed it would get as bad as it's gotten. So right now we're seeing, stocks trade, at single-digit multiples on EBITDA and in low double digits on earnings, which is kind of unheard of that we've seen in the last decade for tech. I think many have said, the downside for Twitter effectively, could be in the low 30s if this fell through. And clearly, we believe he's just trying to negotiate a lower price. There's been all kinds of public filings that have said that the bots are less than 5% of users. That's in the filings. And so I don't know what the controversy is there. The only way you could spin this is that he's trying to renegotiate a lower price based on what's happened to the overall tech market. Our belief is we're not done with the pressure on tech. We still think there's downside relative to historic multiples. And so, again, I think what we've seen is just pretty violent moves on the up and violent moves on the down. And even while we all think if you walked away, it would go to the low 30s, in this tape, I wouldn't rule out anything because we've seen everything overshoot, even on the down relative to what we consider more bearish levels. So really unclear. And again, I think we've never really seen a situation like this where a takeover candidate is publicly commenting on data. So this is it's just been a roller coaster. Obviously, many investors are at this point viewing it as uninvestable at this point, given feels like he's ready to walk away.
And Brent, it's Julie here. Given what you're saying and given the stock action that we've seen, is 54.20 overpaying for Twitter?
I think at this point, given what's happened to the tape, the multiple, we don't think the multiple is outrageous relative to historic M&A in tech. But given what's happened in the short term with the tech market, I think ultimately many would say yes. Now, if he can prove that, that this internal review of the users is actually, there's a higher bot count, then perhaps he could say, well, I'm coming back to the table and renegotiating, down, $10, whatever the numbers. I'm making the number up. But the point is, I think ultimately valuations have all gone lower and we continue to be in the slide. So 54.20 is probably, again, the higher end at this point. I think many of us thought when the deal was going through that we'd see somewhere, in the high 50s. So I think everyone's kind of bracketed the transaction, somewhere between the high 50s to low 30s. And again, it really depends on the shape of the curve of their overall business, of the overall market and the tape. And the tape has gotten violently negative since this happened. And so it's not a shocker to see, him trying to walk things down. Again, he says he's committed, but clearly when you have public filings that all you have to do is do a quick search, you can find the bot statement inside their, inside their filings. They've commented it's less than 5%. So I don't understand why you would put it on hold for that. Clearly, everyone thinks that there's something deeper going on that we can't see, and that's what he's trying to do is throw up a flare so that he can stall the process out.
And so, with that being the case right now, if by happenstance this does get thrown aside and it doesn't go through, at least with Musk as a buyer, are there other companies that you imagine could kick the tires on a lower price deal for Twitter?
Well, we know, historically, there have been a lot of tech companies that have been interested, right? Salesforce kicked the tires and investors are like, get off the parking lot. We don't want you in this car. And that was a pretty clear statement from Salesforce.com shareholders. I'm not saying Salesforce will do it. The point is there's, I think, a lot of potential strategic acquirers. The second camp you have to think about is the billionaire club and who are the other potential buyers, with another community of buyers. I think, private equity certainly could look at this. I mean, there's a number of camps that could do it. I think the challenge right now is there's so much inventory in tech on sale, and we're likely to get worse on fundamentals than better as we head into a recession. Ultimately, I think many investors believe, again, and Jeffrey's firm view is that if the economy is slowing into 23, that ultimately we're going to get a better a shot on goal, if you will, on the price. So I don't really see anyone kind of waiting, ready to jump out of the bushes and say, I want it. That's not what we see right now. And clearly, I think during the process that they went through, the fact that no one came to save them on the 54.20 tells you a lot. There wasn't really anyone else out there that was willing to make the move. So certainly, again, if assuming, the deal falls apart, stock goes, to low 30s, we'll see at that point. I don't see anyone at this point. And certainly given the macro environment, why not wait? Why not give yourself, 6 to 9 months about what's happening with advertisers in a recession. And we know that the first dollars that get shut off in a recession are ad dollars. And that's Twitter's revenue stream right now.
Brian, how much damage is this saga doing to the fundamentals of Twitter? Let's look at a product person inside of Twitter. How can you feel motivated to go to work every day and create some form of interesting new product if you don't know you won't have a job in 6 months?
Exactly. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, I can't imagine. It's kind of like living in a washing machine right now, right? You're constantly on a spin cycle. And, at this point, I think, I guess the other side of this is that we're seeing layoffs in tech. We're seeing fund, valuation downside. So we're seeing a lot of that in other places. But I think this is pretty severe in terms of the sentiment. We've already seen a number of senior executives leave. We've had a couple of our companies that we cover inside the rest of the tech industry hire executives out already. So I think you're already seeing, execs check out. They're like, I don't want to be in for this spin cycle. So this is only going to make it worse. And, you look at the comments that he says where he wants to get the company, like what I don't get is he lays out this incredibly bullish outline and then says the deal's on hold because of this. Like that's what I think is so counter. And I think it's really unproductive for the morale and for the team inside this company. I can't imagine going through that. I certainly wouldn't go through it. I wouldn't stand for it, because if you look at these statements that he's made about trying to get, the subscription business and the ad business at a certain level, the number of users, I mean, all these targets, they're never going to hit it. They're just never going to hit it. And we published a note highlighting why. You look at these subscriber numbers for a new service. I mean, Disney Plus is like, again, we've drawn the comparison, that they're not even at the target, and they're Disney. So these big iconic brands, I think this is going to be very, very difficult, both from a perspective of trying to meet the goals if he wants to meet them, and then secondarily, right now, the more he stalls on this, the more morale gets tough. The product quality has already been challenged, right? We've been talking about this for years. The Twitter product is not where it needed to be, and that's why he's involved. And we think he can work wonders. So I'd say, look, let's get rid of the sideshow. Let's just keep moving forward. Try to keep this on track if he really wants to get this done, and try to get this deal closed so that they can move on to the next chapter.
Brent Thill, Jefferies analyst. Always good to see you. Great insights. We'll talk to you soon.